Hey guys, so I spent a lot of time writing the script for this one and I did multiple takes, but ultimately what I want to do is present to you the Fairphone 6 with the EOS Murena, my case for why I think this exists, all the quirks that come with this software, which is a first for me, and ultimately why I think someone might consider this at the $900 price point. The case for why this exists, and feel free to skip this, but I think for me, I sat down and thought long and hard about it. But for my whole adult life and even throughout school, growing up with a Gmail account and with Apple and with Facebook, I never really questioned why it was important for me to have data privacy. I never really have anything to hide, and I don't mind so much that Google has access to my Gmail, what websites I visit, etc. But what did start to bother me after digging into why Fairphone 6 exists and why this might be important for people is the bigger picture. So yes, we all know that they have a digital profile of us, but what that ultimately means is that every time I do a Google search and the top results come out, and every time I open up YouTube, which let's say over the course of a year, including TikTok, Instagram, all these apps, thousands of times they're exposing me to slightly different material based off of what I just tend to watch. And what this means is that advertisers are basically paying for my attention, which we already know. But what is a little bit more pernicious is the fact that this content is exposing me to how I perceive the world and ultimately how I perceive myself, right? Because ultimately I'm comparing myself to what I'm seeing online. And over the course of time, those things change, and it's not completely objective or neutral. It's really coming down to what they're exposing me to throughout not just 1 year, but really the last 10 years of my life. So it's interesting to think about how that aspect I am not comfortable with. Sure, when it comes to algorithms helping me find the product that I'm looking for, at times like that, it's extremely helpful. But when it comes to my personal beliefs, the perspectives that I'm hearing, pros and cons of different sides, which I'm just not getting unless I'm doing a diligent search of, it will definitely affect how I perceive the world and how I perceive myself. So it's really that perspective where it comes to deciding whether or not how important that is to you. And how do you put a dollar figure on that, right? Because we know that when a product is free, that means we are the product. So anyways, with all that out of the way, I do want to jump into my experience with the EOS software. And I will say right off the bat, these two are completely different phones. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever met identical twins before. Now, while they might look really similar, their personalities are almost very, very different. And that's what I've experienced so far with this Fairphone 6 with the EOS software. Now, because the hardware is shared, the things that I would point out is that really it's just the power button. It's really flush against the body, and the volume rockers are interesting place. So whenever you're pressing the power button, you can accidentally take a screenshot. But this is nothing new. It's just something that's been there ever since I reviewed this phone as well. So it feels like it's easier for lefties. Okay, with that out of the way, let's jump into some of the quirks of this phone. Now, the first quirk I want to start with is the process of logging in and starting up and booting up the phone. You're prompted to log into your Murena account to create one. And I would say that this is a quirk because it's inviting you into a different software ecosystem that's not Apple or Google. And with that comes a suite of different apps that are, I would say, essential to your life. So you have an email account, you have calendars, you have notes, you also have cloud storage and a couple of other things. But essentially, what this gives you is everything that you would want on an iPhone and Apple's ecosystem, but that's not on Apple's ecosystem, and with everything with Google. Now, Murena provides that kind of suite for you when it comes to the app lounge, calculator, calendar, etc. The interesting thing is that you can't actually delete any of those native apps. So you see that they just kind of jiggle, but you can't delete them as you can actually with Apple. So it's weird because it feels like bloatware, but it's actually very essential apps that let you be somewhat anonymous, if not completely anonymous, which is very helpful. And another quirk is that when you're in this app I guess, jiggling mode where you can delete apps. You can't, the way to get out of it isn't to swipe up or anything like that, where it's actually, even if you close your phone and open it again, it's still jiggling. There is a timer, so it eventually stops, but if you want it to stop being in this mode, you have to just tap on the phone. So that's another interesting quirk of this EOS. Okay, so there's another quirk where when you swipe down, it gives you a general search bar where you can search for apps, very Apple-esque of the EOS software. And you can even just do regular queries like, what's the sunset today? Excuse my typing. So I have Brave as my default browser, but it's interesting because it then uses Qwant as a search engine. And I haven't found yet where you can actually turn off. I'm going to turn off the Wi-Fi real quick because it's just really slow. My internet's, there's something wrong with it. Anyways, it uses Qwant as your search engine. And there are temporarily times where it just doesn't work. But for the most part, okay, so what's the price of the Fairphone 6? It'll use, my goodness, and this is probably because I have the IP scrambler on as well, which I'll get to in a second, but essentially it uses Qwant, and that's your native browser. I think it's French based and it works just fine, but that's just another quirk of the EOS software. Now another quirk is waking up features, or the ways that you actually wake up the phone. One is through, of course, your power button. That's how you get to your lock screen. And the other is another option where you can set your volume rocker as also a way to wake up the phone as well. Another quirk, of course, with this phone is with, I was surprised with the battery indicator. Now, it really comes down to the software settings. I thought for a couple of days that you're not given that option to actually see your battery percentage, but what you have to do is when you're in settings, you don't actually go to the battery settings where you think that it would be here. It shows you the usage, battery saver mode, battery manager. You would think it would be here, and information, but it's not here. It's actually deeper in the settings where you have to go to systems. Then you go to the status bar. Now it's here. You get to see other options that they call this the status bar. So I actually have the seconds on. You can do AM and PM style. And the battery status I set as a circle. You could just do your regular icon, but circle is just unique. I've never used that before. And the battery percentage, so you can actually see that. You can set it inside or outside. Yeah, but it's just interesting how I guess this menu option here, it's all set up so that basically you have to go deeper into the systems, which I didn't see before. And that's just another quirk of the EOS operating system. And now I skipped over this before, but with the swipe down, you generally, with the search bar with Android, you're very much used to being able to access the quick menu. But here you actually have to swipe down from the top, which is just something I am not used to. Generally, it's ironic because I'm used to it with the iPhone, but not with an Android phone. So that's just another quirk with this operating software. Another quirk is that when you're trying to log into anything Gmail, anything Google related, you actually have to go through microG. Now, when I first got this phone, I was confused about microG. I thought that it's something that I had to install, that it was separate, but actually microG is pre-installed into your phone. So all that, whatever microG is doing in the background, again, I'm not really savvy when it comes to this, but essentially it's all pre-installed. So whenever you're trying to go into anything Google related, for instance, if I wanted to add another, let's say I want to log into another YouTube account, it will prompt me to go through, let's say switch account, and I'm just going to add one. Switch, add. It's going to prompt me to go through microG services to log into another Gmail related account. So that also exists for, I believe it was for CalDAV when it came to calendars. I have one of my Google calendars installed in there as well. So that's just another interesting quirk of the EOS software. That's all pre-installed. Now the App Lounge, it was similar when I first opened it. It gives you that option to be anonymous. And I can't remember if it was microG or not. I think I have footage of that. If not, then essentially you don't have to log into anything to start downloading apps. So that's another quirk, and which is really cool. I guess another potential downside when it comes to the Fairphone 6 is that there's always a slight possibility that your app won't work with this. Now, I've tried these general apps, including some international apps like Naver Map if you're ever traveling in Korea. And right now I'm in Switzerland, so mobility is a car sharing app. This works fine too. But ChatGPT and Google Wallet doesn't work. So it's kind of a bummer because I use ChatGPT and that is not functioning, nor is Google Wallet. So those are the only two apps so far. I haven't tried, of course, all apps. I'm not a gamer, so I don't have any game apps. But when it comes to Waze, when it comes to anything, it shows you right here that I'm in the middle of one of the Finger Lakes. But I'll get to that in a second. That's with the geolocation scrambler. Anyways, but PayPal, Chase, banking apps work. Everything works. So there's no issue there if you're concerned about, let's say, coming from a Samsung or from a Google Pixel. Everything else works. It's funny because all these other AI apps work. And hey, quick question. Gemini is rated. If you go into the app lounge, you can look up different apps and you can look at their privacy rating. Gemini has 10 out of 10, which is really interesting. This is Google One, but I was surprised to see that while all these other AI apps have anywhere between 6 to 7 out of 10. So if someone could help explain why Gemini has the best, I guess, rating for privacy, that would be interesting to see. Okay, so let's go to the biggest quirk of the EOS software, which is the advanced privacy. Here you have block app trackers, which is super cool. So far, 596 leaks have been blocked. Leaks to basically these apps, or I guess these servers where analytics is being sent out to. And the way I think it works is that app trackers have a list of known DNS servers where these apps are trying to send data to them, and EOS is able to identify and block that, I guess, the data being sent to these servers. I don't think it's 100% foolproof, but I think it's really well done. I'm sure that list is curated by it's open source, and you have users figuring out which DNSs are associated with analytics. But I'm sure, I would love to hear from a professional. Is it possible for these larger companies to scramble maybe some of the DNS servers, or maybe I'm not sure. So I'm not going to use the lingo, but I wonder how foolproof this app trackers is. I'm sure for the most part it works most of the time, but it would be great to see or hear from just the user base if this is foolproof. Geolocation feels quite foolproof because every time I'm using any of the map apps, it goes exactly where, to some random location. You can actually choose where you want the fake geolocation to be. You can use a specific location anywhere in the world. I could just change it to Battle Creek, or you can use a random plausible location as well. Budapest, it just chose that randomly for me. And basically what it does is that it shows you then where which apps are affected by the fake geolocation, and you can actually change it. So let's say you want to keep it accurate for the native maps, which is great. It works for GPS just fine. It actually shows you even car traffic data, but of course it doesn't. If you're looking up, let's say there's a coffee shop that I go to often called Au Martin next to Cornavon in Geneva, and you can actually get GPS locations to this place. Now I'm not going to do it because it'll show you where I'm coming from. Probably not, because the geolocation's off. But essentially the thing is that it's not Google Maps, so you won't have the link, the information. You'll have to go to either Google Maps or just go to the website to look up the information there directly. So fake geolocation works really well. Hide IP address apparently uses the Tor network to send you around to different IP addresses and scrambles it before getting to your final destination. I don't think it's an actual VPN. It just uses the Tor network. And my experience with the hide IP address is that it works fine. Actually, it is slower for sure, but it would be like the worst cases would be where it's similar to if you have a VPN and you're just connected to a server that's just really, really slow. I would say that that's to the extent that this function is slow. But for the most part, like if you just want to scroll on YouTube, currently I'm logged into YouTube, and if I just want to watch random video, it'll work. Okay, right now I'm located in Budapest with geolocation, so it gave me that warning. But let's say, for example, I just want to watch or in a video, and I'm using my 5G data, and it works just fine. See, so the quality works. It's not slow at all when it comes to hide IP address. Another quirk is the weather app, or the weather widget, I should say, because when you first install or get into the phone, this weather widget, it's here, and of course you can remove it if you want to, but the thing is, it's not an app. You can't actually click it and then like it won't open an app itself. So I ended up downloading the app where it's gathering the data from, or EOS is getting the data from. And here you can see here, basically it's an actual app. You can go into more details, shows hours and stuff like that. But I kept trying to click it every time I just wanted to check the weather. So that's another quirk of this phone. Yep, it's accidentally screenshotting, which happens here and there. I guess I was in the middle of editing my footage, and I came across a pretty big con when it comes to this phone. There weren't too many outside of the camera and some apps not working, but this one is when you're actually on a phone call. So right now, I have a phone call going with my wife, and basically it's just there in the background. The issue is that when you're on the call, a lot of the apps or just the internet in general slows down tremendously. And this is when you're not connected to Wi-Fi and it's just the data. So let's say you're outside and you're calling customer service and you're trying to take care of something, and you want to go into, I don't know, let's just say Reddit, because you're bored and you just want to look up a way to spend the time. And here you can tell that it just takes a really long time to load, especially when you try to swipe down. It's still trying to, it feels like it's not working sometimes, but let's go to the Brave browser. Let's look up flights to Norway. And so it will work. It's just that it's incredibly slow, the internet. So I think that's a pretty big con when it comes to the usability of the phone. And it's finally coming up, but it's just super slow. So let's actually hang up the call, and let's go back to Brave browser just to show you the flights from New York City to Geneva. Lightning fast, super fast to load. Everything works really well. Loading Reddit. Yeah, it happens really quickly. So that's just another pretty big con, in my opinion, that things are just super slow when you're on a phone call. And if you're ever in a rush with customer service, you need to bring up emails, you have to look up certain information, log into something to confirm, or just download some information from the cloud, whatever it might be. On the phone call, using data is very difficult and basically non-existent. Now, I don't know how important the camera is for people who are interested in purchasing a camera like this, but if it's going to be a priority for you, definitely this is not the phone that you should get. Now, what I mean by that is that generally the user experience and the interface is one that leaves one wanting. And what I mean by that is it just feels like software that, if you were a developer, this is something that you would want to just test the hardware to see how functions work. But basically you toggle through three different modes through this button here. This is a camera, video, and the QR code. And then up here you have exposure lock, which is an interesting choice. You have manual exposure here. You have other options here when it comes to photo modes. And you can get pretty granular with all the different functions that they give to you. But overall, it's just kind of a weird experience. Now, when it comes to quality, when it comes to really close-up macro shots, the quality is really good actually. But when it comes to just general photos, I find that it works. But again, there's just no zoom option. So you're limited to what you see on your camera. You can go to the second lens, which is the ultra wide camera, and go back to lens 1, which is just your normal camera. I guess it's just a 1x. But the video quality is pretty bad on this when you're recording. And when you're recording also with video, the audio is very bad as well. So this is not a camera that you would want to be capturing videos with. It's just simply some pictures that you'll see. Think of it as a fixed lens for a camera. And the quality, again, it's not bad. But it's a weird experience, and I'm sure anyone can get used to it after some while. But yeah, I'm showing some comparisons of this phone, the Google version of the Fairphone 6 with the EOS one, and they're quite similar in terms of just the quality that you get. And again, they're not bad. It's just the overall experience with it. So there is also another weird bug that when you're using the camera outside, for at least the video camera, and sometimes even just the regular screen, I would say that this is another con. This is where it just feels a little buggy, where that if you have sunlight coming directly down with the video on, as I'm going to show you in the recording that I had from this phone when I was recording both, it just seems to black out the screen. For some reason, the auto dimming function kicks in and it just blacks the screen out completely to a point where you can't really see much. So that's just another weird bug. I thought it was just while you had the video mode on, but this happened to me again while I was outside and I was just out in the sun. I was looking at the screen and it just went completely dark. So there's something weird there with that bug. Overall, that has been my impression. I think if you were to purchase this phone, you'd want to get a separate point and shoot camera because this does work. But if you enjoy photography and videography a little bit more, you would probably want a dedicated camera to be able to capture certain moments. But then again, if you're looking at this phone, that's probably not a priority for you. High quality pictures for social media or for sharing. But yeah, you have the cameras there, but overall leaves you wanting for more. Hey guys, so this is me holding the two phones side by side. This is with the front-facing camera. The Fairphone 6 with the Google suite is with the updated July 14th software update, and I think they're still working on those updates. But the one on, I guess whichever one I uploaded on, can you guys tell a difference between the two? And even just from the screen, it's quite clear, but yep, it's a front-facing camera. So this is a video, the back camera, the 1X, just shooting out into the sky, the tree, a lot of green, and just comparing the differences between the two. The Fairphone 6 with the Google suite and one that has just the EOS by Murena. So that's really weird. This camera is dimming on its own. Fairphone 6 with the EOS software. I don't know why it's dimming like that. Maybe something with the sensors on the back, but as you can tell, I was trying to record right now, and then if I just point it straight, the screen comes back on. As soon as the screen is facing up, it just starts to black out. In conclusion, purchasing a phone like this, you really have to weigh the pros and cons and determine for yourself where your priorities lay. Because clearly, that for the price point, if you're purchasing it for around $900 US, it's something that you're deliberately making a decision to protect not just your privacy, but also the way that these companies are using data to really get you more addicted and to change the way that you see yourself and the world. And I know these are kind of nebulous. It's hard to put your finger on it exactly. But if you understand the argument for trying to go as anonymous as possible, trying to block as many trackers as possible, and that for you is very important, I would say that this phone is a wonderful opportunity for you to start that path. Now, again, I'm not an expert, so I'm not sure if it's going to give you the level of privacy that you might want for something that's high stakes or for something that's really important for you to be able to remain anonymous. But for an average citizen and user like myself who wants to take control of the things that they're presented with online, this Fairphone is, I think, one of the best opportunities to do just that. Now, of course, it's not perfect. You have the issues just with the user experience with the cameras, the way that it auto dims when you're using the camera or just the phone in sunlight, which is really weird. And also, of course, some apps that might not work like ChatGPT or Google Wallet, which I really enjoy, just being able to pay with a tap with the phone, and potentially other apps too that I'm not aware of. So there are things that you should be aware of, that it's not a perfect user experience. There are a few bugs that they have to smoothen out. But I remember even when the iPhone 16 Pro Max came out, the screen was causing a lot of issues just with trying to type on it. The battery was draining really fast. It was just a bad user experience when I first got this phone. And of course, since then, they've adjusted, they smoothened all those out. So it's no surprise that, of course, a smaller company also has certain things that they have to work through, but they're aware, right? They're on their forums constantly reaching out to their fan base, and they are engaged with the community. So maybe just be aware of those things. And if you are interested and you don't want a phone with too many bugs, maybe wait a couple of months for all those to be smoothened out to have a better experience. Overall, I'm really glad that this phone exists. It feels like one of a kind Fairphone, what they're doing in the market. And I think that, you know, with the way that they have vetted their supply chain and suppliers, and the way that they made the battery really accessible, it's beautiful in concept, and to use as well, it's been really great. It's been a wonderful eye-opening experience being able to block trackers and to have that freedom option to be able to scramble your location and your IP address. It's very thoughtful, and it's wonderful that they give you that power back to you to be able to make those decisions for yourself. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helped you in making the decision whether the Fairphone with the EOS by Murena is worth it for you, and I'll see you in the next one.